Hey, March is on. We're at the end of March, and how many times can I say March in a sentence? I don't know, but back from his tour of international pancake houses in Wisconsin is Greg.
Yes, with extra syrup, please. Thank you.
And we're very glad to have Beck again, celebrating another anniversary on his great show, Whole Lotta Shakin. It is, of course, our one and only Mike Murray.
Hey, baby, what's happening?
But how is the pancakes, Greg?
Yeah.
What? Pancakes. Well, they were very buttery and very pancake-like.
Were they flat?
They were flat.
Okay.
With some little bubbles in the middle, which I like little bubbles.
Did they move at any time? They were on your plate?
No, they did not.
Okay.
I asked for no slugs specifically.
Buckwheat or plain. Buckwheat wants to fill you up more. But you've now, Whole Lotta Shakin is now celebrating its 39th, which means it's like 60 in real life. It was this show.
In radio years.
like 60. But how did this start? What made you first think that I want to get into radio?
Well, I always did.
He wanted to start shaking, and he said, "Hey, you know what?
Listen to the radio in the mid-'60s as a kid. That's where all the fun and excitement was. And the songs in the mid-'60s were all great. I mean, they're even in retrospect, they're even better. But, you know, I'm like, I listen to guys play these great songs, and later women. Because when I started listening, other than Jessica Savage, there were no women, and Ann Keith, there were no women on the radio.
Wow, Ann Keith.
So, yeah, she was on TV. But then later guys and girls started playing.
Tiling for dollars.
In the 70s, they started playing this crap. And I'm like, boy, I want to be able to get in there and play something good as opposed to that. And, of course, my musical tastes were British Invasion and 60s, and then I really got into Chuck Berry. You know, once I heard that, you know, it was like, I'm out of control. And, you know, it mutated its way. Then I bought the Nuggets LP and blah, blah, blah. So I went to Brockport, and I went to school for communications. And I was going there when I met Mick Albert at Scorgies at a Chesterfield Kings show. And he's Mick. Like, well, come on, man. He said, well, look, I'm a DJ over at WITR. They have this thing called the Friday Night Filet. And why don't you come and bring some of your records and play them? And we did, and it was a big hit because at that point it was the 20th anniversary of the British invasion. So it was a big hit, and Hal Horowitz, who was the program director, said, look, I want you guys to do a 1-hour show on Sundays, but it has to be psychedelic. Okay. So we played pseudo-psychedelic stuff, but within a year we were playing surf music, and then in 87 I said to Mick, I go, let's just bust the whole thing open and just play rock and roll no matter when it's
I didn't know Mick was on the radio.
Oh, yeah, he was on till about 96. Then, you know, family duties. He had a wife and 2 young kids, and he's like, man, I can't, you know.
He's a great guy.
I'm done. And I said, okay, I'm gonna keep going. And, well, here I am.
Is he ever in a bad mood? Every time I see him, he's so damn positive.
Oh, I've seen him, man.
Yeah. I never have.
And I think there's an old saying, it's like music, it's good music, it's lasts. That's the thing. It's the power of, you know, you never get tired of it.
Yeah.
But then you get to become an old curmudgeon like me. It's like new music these days.
Well, and that's where I'm fortunate that there is, in the late 70s, there was music that was geared more towards rockabilly and surf and garage rock that kind of hung on, and power pop, and it continues to this day. So I don't just have to go through the oldies stack and play something that's 60 years old. I can play newer bands, which, you know, just kind of keep it current. It's nice to mix them up, but I love the older stuff, and, you know, always.
Do you think the lack of the eclectic system that they used to have has screwed everything up?
Well, yeah, when they started to
pigeonhole everything. And
I mean, in different markets, you look at a lot of. There's access to some regional charts online. There's this one site, ARSA, I think it is. And, you know, you could put in a band or a song or a city, and you could look at their charts. Well, stations pretty much program themselves. There were the trade papers where you could see what was a real hit, but basically either the program director or, in a lot of cases, the DJs had some room to play a song if they thought it was good.
Right.
And of course, in the mid-'60s, they started to consolidate and incorporate, and, well, look at the mess we're in now. There's no creativity. So you could hear, you know, the Beatles and then the Supremes, and you could hear the Ventures and then Wilson Pickett.
Right.
And you could hear a Torch ballad after that. And now everything sounds the same. It's all crap. It's all just over-manufactured is the problem with it. It doesn't seem real because, to me, it's overproduced. It doesn't matter what style.
Well, it's just singers and samples now.
Yeah.
I mean, it just doesn't seem like something, okay, we'll find a singer, here's a bunch of pre-programmed stuff, and we're just going to throw her voice on or his voice on there. And
if people like that, good for them. But I'm for, like, real music.
It's like the classic line I had where, like, I was working in the studio and I showed one of my friends the demo. And my friend goes, I don't know who you had playing guitar in that, but it was great. And I go, dude, that was in there.
You know, I'll tell you, I was trolling around, as I always do, at Big Lots or Family Dollar General-ish stores. And I found this Midnight Special DVD for like $6. So I started playing it, and I was amazed. It was, number one, it was all live. So, and then there was no verb on anything, no tricks, it was just the band. Played whatever bands played their songs live, Argent, and they had freaking, what's his name there?
Wolfman Jack, that guy?
No, artist, but I can't think of his name now.
Come on, I was watching the Tramps do Disco Inferno the other day live. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great. You know, they're up there and they're just busting it. Everybody's dancing. It's like, but they're really out there singing. They had a band behind them.
Who was the guy that did that song, Taxi?
Harry Chapin?
Harry Chapin.
Yeah.
So they had him, I think he was doing that song. But he had a cello player, and he had all the real deal going on, and it was like, it was so moving, you know, and it's like, why don't they just do that again?
It's the human-to-human connection.
Right.
When you're really, and that's why I think some of these singers on these American Idol or whatever, America's Got Talent, whatever, but some of these people come out without any backing, and they just belt it out from the heart, and I think that connects with people more so than some of these manufactured things, which really started... It started, well, Phil Spector and all them did all that, but they did it with real people in the studio. It wasn't, it wasn't all like
they had a source. They just amplified the source. You know what I mean? They just polished it up.
Yeah.
But speaking of American Idol, the only thing that bothers me about all those shows, well, not so much that, The Voice more so. As soon as somebody starts to go really high, people, and the chairs go around. It's like, really? They got to go nuts and start trilling and doing all these embellishments? It's like...
it's a show.
I know, but can't you just tell that somebody can sing right away?
Mock show.
I always picture, like, Dylan or Tom Waits as somebody going on with
Tom Waits.
Could you imagine?
Yeah. That was one of my favorites when he was on Fernwood Tonight. His bus broke down on the way to Cleveland or whatever, so he stops in the imaginary town of Fernwood, Ohio, and it was on Fernwood Tonight, and he's thinking, the piano has been drinking. That's what he's saying.
Could you imagine, though, like, your claim to fame, because, like, when he was really poor in New York, he used to break into cars and steal cigarettes. I had my cigarettes stolen by Tom Waits. I think what you mean, too, like you were talking about for real, it's like, I don't watch that stuff, but, like, Susan Boyle, they come out, like, on the show, everybody's laughing at her because she's sort of frumpy, but then she could really belt it out.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
True. I just noticed that. It seems like, it just seems like, and this is kind of an off-the-track thing, but...
in the show? No, I can't believe it.
I called in a talk show locally, and I was complaining about how I don't like what they do to the national anthem on a lot of these events. I said, the national anthem, and I know I'm going to sound like a jerk here, but I said, the national anthem...
That's your role on the show, Greg.
I am a jerk. I'm a curmudgeonly jerk. But loving. But I said, it's a patriotic song. It is not a gospel song. It is not, something to be... And the person, the host of the show... He said, well, I don't know if it's really gospel, but it's more like yodeling. And I said, yes, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. All the stuff that they do with the national anthem. And, it's like, can't you just sing the song? It's a patriotic song. Thank you.
Yeah.
End of rant. But that's just me.
Well, and you do have a lot of veterans out there now, but back in the day, whether I went to see the Red Wings or whomever, most of the guys that were there at the game had fought in World War II or Korea.
Right.
And if anybody even talked during the national anthem,
they
were liable to get their
butt
kicked. So it's a different, everything's a lot looser since the 60s. It's open to interpretation.
Right.
Whereas back in the day, it was like, this is how you do it. If you don't do it this way, I'll kick the crap out of you.
Oh, and
well, making it your own is okay, but I think everybody's trying to outdo each other.
That's true.
Case in point, I took my dad to the Batavia Muck Dogs games, and he really enjoyed them. But, I had him, by then he had a walker, or his wheelchair. But when they play, and he was in Pacific Theater at the end of World War II.
I've seen that show.
He notably drove a tank into a lake by mistake. But,
I didn't hit anybody, just the fish.
Whatever. But when they played the national anthem, I had to get them up, take the head off, and everything.
Yeah.
You wouldn't mess with it. But I do have a bone to pick. I heard on your show yesterday
that
Jerry Lee Lewis. Did he say hillbilly music? He stole that from my dad.
That's it, man. That was my inspiration. God rest his soul. That's it. Both of them. Yeah.
I'm just very worried about that. That's like, okay, his ghost isn't going to haunt me. But how dare he steal my dad's catchphrase?
My novelty show is this week, and when you hear the version of Whole Lotta Shakin' I've got on there, you will be intrigued. Let's just say.
Oh, there's so many, too. Like, you're talking about the flying saucers. I remember.
Oh, with Buchanan and Goodman?
Yeah, when they just patch stuff together.
Dickie Goodman.
Those good old records.
Well, initially, they did that record, and Steve Allen, I think, was Steve Allen and... Wasn't Herb Alpert? They did a version with recordings they did on their own of the songs bits that they patched in because they thought that Buchanan and Goodman were going to get sued for using the original clips from the songs, novelty songs, but it turns out they didn't. So because the people whose songs they were like, hey, one line from my song, that's good promotion. You're not stealing my song. So
imitation is
and then Dickie Goodman had them all, Mr. Jaws, you remember that, and Water Great and all those.
Well, I went to we were probably all Dr. Demento fans on Sunday night under the Snozzleberry trees.
I still remember seeing Blue Cheer on the Steve Allen show.
Holy mackerel!
Yeah, I'll tell you. You talk about the '60s. I saw Mike Douglas, but when Mike Douglas was on in the afternoon, he had Deep Purple on back in the day. He had somebody else, I can't remember, but I saw Deep Purple on that, and then Blue Cheer was on Steve Allen, and that had to be really weird because even Steve Allen said something about. He says, well, by the time you hear this at home, it's gone through some processes. And, he goes, but here, you cannot believe how loud it is. He actually said that. It was pretty funny. I think I have that on a recording. So, who gave me that?
Somebody.
Shoot. A bass player guy. I can't think of names anymore.
I was just listening to Book of Taliesin again, and I remember with Rod Hughes. There's a lot of different Rod Hughes, wasn't it? I forget names on this show all the time, but for I like their version of "We Can Work It Out."
Remember Deep Purple? I always liked
they
their
did
songs,
those early albums. They did "Help" and "Hey Joe" and all that. They're very vanilla fudgy, like big long intros and slow.
Vanilla fudge.
Oh yeah, like half these songs. There's like 7 songs.
Don't start a fight with me, man.
There's 7.
I'm a loyal
That's the
fan.
version that Take Me for a Little While that I remember hearing on the radio when I was a kid.
I'm just kidding.
Now my quote.
I never heard the original. I liked it. I'm sorry.
From Carmine Appice, however you pronounce it. Still, this quote holds true for all of us oldsters now. It's like he's walking around, running into fellow musicians now, and he goes in. We used to talk about how much we scored, all the groupies. Right. Now we compare blood pressure meds.
I know, right?
But that's a weird thing. Like, I just put that quote from Mick Jagger about how he was going to stop music in the 70s, pretty much. He said he was 50 in 84. He was like either hanging around with Keith or something.
Then he took a look at his alimony stuff. And so
but now, seeing them, I watched one of their shows from Berlin last year, and they still hold up. How did you think about, when we started doing this? Did you ever think we'd get to this stage where we're looking back all these years?
Well, in the recesses of your mind, but let's face it, when you're 20 years old, you don't want to think about being 60 years old.
Right,
I didn't even think it last night.
You hope you make it, number one. And then, after that.
Well, almost.
Yeah, almost, man.
I'm talking to, the Katie Morey's father last night, and we're talking about, I knew Michaela, I knew Katie, I knew them when they were 20, I've seen them grow, and he's like, I'm 70 now, and I'm like, I'm 29, but I just remember when they started seeing them progress, and I'm going, this is over 10 years ago, 15 years or so.
Yeah, well,
High-risers,
I've been seeing for almost 40 years. I saw them in 85 for the first time when they were the Essentials at, of all places, what's now Lux. It was Snake Sisters Cafe.
Right.
I think I saw them at Scorgies. Did they open up for the Ramones? I think they did, ironically, yeah. So
I should have gone to that last night, but I was tired.
The Ramones. It's Scorgies. That was not a good idea.
No, was there one, like somebody, I think, for New Math the one time, they singing Money?
I saw Jason
Ramones manager vacuumed up the money or something.
Kevin used to get hit with all kinds of stuff when they were singing Money, especially at the Penny Arcade, because people didn't like them anyway, and they were throwing stuff at them, but at least they were throwing money.
I heard the Cheap Trick show about how they were. First time I saw the Essentials, though, I was with my friend David Cuesta, went to go see the Kinks. It was like a Dandelion Day at U of R. We didn't go to U of R, but we just went. Yeah. They did that, and I remember all Ray did was complain about how hot it was on stage.
Oh, bloody hot.
Yeah, that's what he said. I love it, but I said, you don't have to wear the Union Jack jacket, man.
Yeah.
I saw Jason and the Scorchers at Scorgies, man. That was a good show.
And then I went to go see Jazzberries. That's where I saw the Essentials first time.
Oh, yeah. Good shows there, yeah. Well, which one? On Monroe or when she moved
actually, on Monroe, and the thing was, there was a benefit concert for the submarine school at the Bob Shop. This was like probably 2019. That was just before the C word. And it was like Greg was there. It was like Katie, Ben, obviously Alex Cote. But there's a woman there, and I was telling Ben and Katie about the first time I saw the Essentials. And this woman, she was the owner of Jazzberries.
Oh, Susan?
Yeah, and this was a show, she said that was the first show they had at that location.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing, like, Mark Bradley doesn't remember, I swear that the Skeletons played with them.
Yeah, absolutely they did.
I didn't know if it was, he doesn't remember, and I just said...
Yeah, was it the East Avenue one?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, they played at least once, maybe twice, at East Avenue Jazzberries. Yeah, I remember being there.
I remember that well. I remember it well. But we were talking about remixes. What are your thoughts on remixes? Because we should just tape that and we could have gone home.
Well,
go. And ladies and gentlemen, here he is.
On the remix trail.
Hey.
I like them because, you get... I just like to hear something new. And it always gives me the hope that, well, it's just like what we do, kind of, as a band. It's like you think, like watching Get Back with the Beatles. It's like, yeah, they yell chords out to each other, and they have to work out the songs too. And it's like, it makes you feel like you're doing it the right way. It's like, okay, you hear like an early version of a song. Well, I can see why that didn't go on the album, because it didn't have that special something. But it's interesting to hear the progression and the trail of it.
With the Beatles, yes, because you're so invested, and they're such a huge thing. But to hear maybe... for me, I'd love to hear the Trashmen and their working versions of Surfin' Bird. There actually is an early demo. But for them, there is an early demo, but it's not a lot different, let's put it that way. But, but for them, it's like, it's okay. But for the Beatles, absolutely, because we've been immersed in them for, 60 years. So.
I mean, I got this, I just was saying earlier, pre-show, I was talking about these Deep Purple reissues I got, In Rock and Burn, and, they're cleaned up a little bit, but... there's some extra songs on there and some studio chit-chat, which is not, wonderful, but it's just interesting, a little piece of history. And
like
is it a money grab? Yeah, maybe.
Like the Trogs tapes.
Yeah.
Well, you ever hear Fly on the Wall? No, Fly on the Wall.
The Buddy like Rich bus.
No,
thing.
this is like you could buy this. It's like Fly on the Wall thing. It's a Let It Be sessions where it's like 20, 25 minutes. You just hear them. It's like the Let It Be studio.
Yeah.
Where you hear them. You could buy this. It's like a record.
Oh, yeah.
Arguing.
You just hear them chatting about and everything. Well, I guess the story behind Let It Be, too, is because of the breakup. The director decided that he was going to do the dark and gloomy for the one that came out because he knew about the split and everything. So that's why it came out so...
Yeah. But it's interesting when you watch that Get Back thing because we were watching it last night and I told my friend, I says, you listen to it like the director and the other guys, the art guys are all talking, well, we're going to do it in the desert and we're going to do this. And these guys don't even have the songs figured out. And these guys already have this crazy vision that they're going to do in a desert in an amphitheater or something. And these guys, they don't even want to leave England. Well, and it's like they were in opposite. It was very polarized. They weren't on the same page.
Well, it's the whole thing with Everest, like it's sort of Abbey Road, where Paul wanted them to go to Mount Everest.
Right.
I think they would have enjoyed that.
Yeah, man.
You know, and it's probably tacky in a tourist trip. But when I went down Baker Street in London, there's a Beatles store, and I wanted to go in. The line was out the door, though. And I'm sure it's like a tourist trap.
Oh, heck yeah.
You know, where I had to go to Abbey Road to be an idiot.
Well, yeah. Well, no, you've got to. Everyone does. Paul, like they showed, I don't know if he almost got run over or he just pretended to almost get run over, but it would have been ironic, you know?
There's another documentary called If These Walls Could Talk, all about Abbey Road. It's on one of the streaming.
Why isn't somebody done a parody record called Abbey Normal?
Well, that would be the Ruddles if they were going to.
Yeah, the Ruddles.
But
the key with the Ruddles is the music's good, though, too.
It really is. Neil Innes really, really nailed it. It is hysterical.
I got in trouble with him, though, one time he played that one show about the age, and I told you, and I gave him Holy Grail to sign, he's fine. I guess he had some kind of falling out with Eric.
Yeah. Well, Idol didn't do anything with it other than, you know, star in it as an actor, but Innes did all the music. Did you have him sign it nasty? No?
Yeah. But he's nice to me, but sometimes you don't know, like you ask about somebody, it's like, oh, like, oops.
Well, you get him on the wrong day.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Oh, sorry, man. It's cool.
But still, I missed one Ghoulie last night.
Me too. Yeah, I was on it.
That Conga, I love. That was so realistic, it scared me, like with the suit.
Oh, that was that was great. Yeah, Conga. I just like the extra bits they showed about how they had to pay King Kong the royalties to the guys that developed King Kong just because it was, you know, it's basically King Kong in London. You know, that's what it is. So, yeah, right.
But that's all the stuff. I mean, that's what I still like. I just go back here for the old goofy monster movies. They're fun. It reminds me of maybe it's like a childhood thing. Where I remember my Saturday afternoons and.
No, it's superficial. It's fun, and it's kind of like the music I play. Even though a lot of it's intricate, it's the same idea. It's just like, woohoo! School's out. Let's rock.
Oh, a lot of it was just technology limitations, too. It's like, we might actually have to write a really good story here because we can't, you know.
My favorite is, what was it, Attack, what is it, the Giant Leeches?
Yeah.
No, it was the other one. What was the one
Killer Shrews?
Killer Shrews, where they use dogs as the killer shrews, and they put these little furry blankets on their back. Yeah, well, they showed a fake animal when they did a close-up, but afterwards, people are running, and these dogs are running after them.
Right.
There's no doubt in your mind that's a dog gallop. It's hysterical. Plus, it's got the guy from Dukes of Hazzard is the star.
Enos, isn't it?
Yeah.
I saw parts of that.
He was on, Andy Griffith's show, too.
This is my view. I just popped in my head last night about, like, say you're doing a low-budget movie like that. You don't have, like, pressure on you. You can have fun.
Yeah.
You can just have fun.
But there's
close enough for rock and roll. That's it.
There's that one movie, was it Beast from the Haunted Cave, is it? and it's like, it's a great movie right up until they show the monster, and then it's like this thing on wheels or something, and it's like really fake. It's like a big Hershey's Kiss or something.
Oh, yeah, that one. That's great. Well, kids were going to their drive-in, and they weren't watching the movie anyway.
And I watched From Hell It Came with the tree.
Oh, the giant mountain.
That's great.
Or Zontar, the giant killer turnip from Beavis.
Classics, man.
The one that got me, it scared me to death. Like, I remember Gregory the Grave Walker.
Yeah.
And I used to, like, the one that terrified me when I was a kid was Sound of Horror. Mm-hmm. It's about these people are investigating a cave, exploring it. There's an invisible dinosaur.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And it scared and all you would see is... I actually have it on some packs now, but you know the old saying, don't watch it again. I was scared of this.
I'll tell you, my neighbor gave me 2 Japanese movies that are very... Well, I showed you those 2. I started to watch that one, Big Man Japan, and it's just this guy, and he just walks around. He's got like a big club, and there's like these weird monsters that look like those wacky inflatable things in the freaking sails, you know, and it's like, it's very interesting. The art direction is very cool. It's called Big Man Japan. Then there's another one called The Calamari Wrestler, about this wrestling thing, and this guy turns into a squid guy or something, and he goes, oh yeah, this is for real.
I bought it. I went online and bought it right after the show.
Was it good? Did you watch it? I haven't watched it.
Actually, I shook my... you get to the point going, okay, now what kind of person thinks of... Now, the wrestler's going to be turned into a giant calamari.
Well, you know what?
Hey, that could have gone well in Magical Mystery Tour. It would have worked.
I wonder sometimes when they green light things, who is in control? Like, can you imagine being the guy at CBS? Hey, I got this great idea for a sitcom. Okay, takes place in a German prison camp, and it's like, can you imagine
20 years after World War II?
How they pulled that off? I mean, it's a great show, but you almost now in today's climate, I don't think that's going to work.
The one that scared me was Night Gallery with the doll, where the guy in India sends this British commander doll actually to his granddaughter or whatever, and the doll comes to life and it's there to kill him, and it starts tearing her toys apart, and she's like, well, it talks to me all the time.
Right.
Holy.
I can't tell you how many ventriloquist stories I've seen. It's like there was an Alfred Hitchcock one with Claude Rains as the ventriloquist. It was really good.
So there's a Night Gallery one too with Spock, and there's a vampire on a barge, but they can't because of the water. But that one got me. But of course, the classic was the Karen Black Killer doll.
Trilogy of Terror.
But the problem was, like,
oh, that's great.
I literally, like, watching it again, though, I couldn't stop laughing. I was, like, falling on the ground. But that's another thing to talk about a little bit. Like you mentioned Peter Gunn a lot. Some of those old shows have the best sound.
The music's awesome.
The music's awesome. I mean, there's not much to the show, but the music is great.
I mean, it takes place in that nightclub, most of it. He hangs out in his jazz club, and then you hear all this cool music.
Or M Squad. This like the
well, that's it. And they swiped the beginning for Police Squad. Yeah.
And then Lee Marvin's doing like cigarette ads because I think there was the sponsor.
Oh yeah. Everyone. I mean, Jack Webb, all those guys.
Yeah.
Sanford and Son, Quincy Jones. But
Sanford and Son.
I love that stuff.
I've been watching that lately. I'm just losing it, man.
Oh, I watched
I know.
The whole during like lockdown. I watched the whole thing, but I like how they play a lot on just miscommunication. Oh, like there's the one episode where Bubba spots Rallo and Lamont in the bar, and he goes off like he's like always like this.
Well, every show from the Honeymooners on, pretty much, and Lucy, is about a misunderstanding. Just about every damn show, comedy show is a misunderstanding somewhere.
Think of the umbrella situation.
Yeah, and that was
Come up with a situation.
And
But what I like, too, about Red Fox is he was real loyal to the old comedians on that show. Like, he brought in, it's like so many, like Slappy White.
Yeah.
And I guess they didn't want LaWanda Page, and he said, we're going to do it. And then finding out that, DeMont Wilson's really Grady Wilson.
Yeah.
So that's why they used the name.
But no, that was a great show because he'd say whatever came to his mind. He didn't care. It's the antithesis of what you watch today.
You know what else I think, too?
Redwood, whatever.
Like that and All in the Family, they made their statements on prejudice and bias and things without it being this huge, heavy political thing.
Well, you could do that back then.
Yeah.
And I watched an episode a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, the same damn thing's going on. I mean, it was the same conversation.
Right.
I'm like, okay, folks, we haven't figured this out yet. We probably won't, but at least listen to each other.
It's like all the sci-fi things about peace and things, and it's like, how long is this going to take? Why is peace so damn hard to figure out?
Yeah, that's the thing I found. Like, even go back, like, watching an ad from Eisenhower, like, when he's running for president. It's these same issues now.
Right. It's nothing different.
Watching All in the Family, which I did again during COVID, I'm they're talking about the same stuff we're talking about.
The same stuff that's going on today.
And too, it's like when you watch these, any of these history things, the Beatles, any of the 60s music thing, you forget about how turbulent the 60s. Everybody go, the good old days, the 60s. No,
depending on where you live, but I mean, if you were in the middle of it, it was a nut house.
It was some crazy stuff going on, and you forget. And then you're kind of going, well, yeah, okay, it's a little better now, but still, why are we still having these issues?
Well, that's a couple of years ago. Everybody's like, oh, it's so turbulent. I go, it's 1968 again, is basically what it is.
Right.
It was the same kind of thing. And don't forget, I mean, the world came about this far, very, very short distance, I'm talking, from blowing itself up in 1962. So I think a lot of younger people are like, screw this, let's go crazy. And then the Beatles came along, and it's okay.
Oh, but I just actually read the latest Chuck Berry bio.
Yeah.
And just They were. I like the line that hits it right is that first generation rock was a certain special kind of crazy.
Well, they were because they were just doing their thing. They didn't know it was going to be rock, and then they set the table for what came in the 60s, and then after that, the Beatles set the table for the industry that it's been ever since.
But just like reading that, and again, Wyman's book, all the riots at shows, too.
Oh, yeah.
They closed Fats Domino. You don't think of him as inspiring riots. It's like 4 riots at one tour for
Fats. It's the music, man. You can't sit down, like they said, right? You can't.
You're not inspiring with your show, that are you?
My people, you get a hold of your walker, and you're rocking with me, with Mike. I tell you, that's it, baby.
No, but even like I love how things are put together, like the story behind Maybelline.
Hold on, your wig.
And now it's just like Chuck makes one thing up, but they say there was just a Maybelline picture, like a Maybelline ad. They use that. It's all you need. Does it rhyme? Does it go with the lyrics and everything?
Yeah, sometimes it's just one line in a song, and you make a whole classic out of it, actually.
Or Bo Diddley, of course, like Bo Diddley said if he could take.
I'm glad he disobeyed Ed Sullivan, because that performance of Bo Diddley on that show, again, real music,
right?
Not messing around. There's Bo, there's a guy in drums, there's Jerome, and it's like,
I give those engineers, too, a lot of credit back then. They were able to capture that stuff pretty well.
Well, it was meant to capture sound as opposed to capture electronic sounds. It's meant to capture environmental sounds, human sounds, as opposed to, all right, we got to tweak this, we got to tweak that, we got to tweak the other thing. No, just don't let it go in the red.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It's funny. I was just reading, or was I what? I was reading this thing on one of those Deep Purple in the booklets. That's another reason I like these reissues, is I learn a lot from the booklets. Because there's like so much history in there, and how this happened, and who left when, and
episode 6, baby, the rule.
Yeah, episode 6, right? Man, what a screw job that was.
Yeah,
they let those 2 guys go and didn't tell anybody, and the singer and all. They kind of a crappy thing to do, but that's the way it goes.
Well, now Richie's doing Hobbit music.
Hey, I love their version of Kentucky Woman. I got.
Oh yeah, that was my radio favorite back then.
That guy was a good singer, and I'll tell you, that guitar solo is like coolest guitar solo ever. It's like very atonal.
I like his stuff with the Outlaws. I like his stuff on that one song, Moving In, that Hines does. And I remember the guy that wrote it he did the clavinet solo on Telstar in London.
Oh, wow.
I don't know if he's on the record. I still haven't figured out. He is on the demo, and he knew Joe Meek. And, my band would practice. This guy ended up in Clarkson somewhere. From England, he lived in Clarkson. Then he eventually moved to Buffalo, and he's since passed. But Dave Adams was his name. And he's, telling, Joe Meek, this, that, and the other thing. So my buddy brings him down to our session. That name, And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And he's like, dude, I wrote this song. Will you guys do it? Moving In. So we did it. And he was saying Blackmore was on there, and of course Dave was amazing. It ended up coming out on Tower in this country, and it's like this. He's doing this kind of link rate, and then you get to the solo on this thing. It's just sick, and it's Blackmore just letting it loose.
Yeah.
Them and the Outlaws. He was with a group called the Outlaws, not the '70s guys, obviously,
right.
But.
I picked up another one. It was Live Paris '75 with Coverdale and all that, but. This particular one is important, I guess, because it was Blackmore's last gig. So he's on fire throughout this whole thing.
Oh yeah, he was amazing.
And they do this thing in Smoke on the Water on that album, and they go from one song to the other, and then it's like part of Lazy, then it goes into Smoke on the Water, then it goes out of that into this long church organ thing, and then it goes back to. It's really cool what they did with it.
Whereas I remember like a couple things at Scorgies where certain guitarists were on certain substances and started playing the wrong song.
Well, I knew guys that weren't and still played the wrong song. That's what Scorgies was about.
Yeah, that's for you young kids. If you didn't experience it,
I just remember singing and I'm on one verse and I'm like, I don't know what's in the next. I don't know what the next line is. But for some reason, just before you're ready to sing, there it is. That's happened to me more times than not.
I've had to do that a couple of times. People look back at me and and they're like shaking their head, and I mouth a word because I know the word.
Yeah, you just go.
And it's like, oh, okay, thanks.
That is like a good question too, because I've been talking about mortality, the passage of time lately. A lot of things have happened the last few years, but how, like, you still playing out? You still get the thrill. You still enjoy, you still spinning the records. We do this insane show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when I don't want to put the stuff in the car anymore, that's the end of it. Mm-hmm. But I still look forward to it. I get excited setting up. I don't know what it is. It's like I was watching a documentary on the band and Robbie Robertson. Oh. The band. Robbie Robertson. Yeah. Robbie Robertson was talking about the first time he got a guitar and all this stuff. And he goes, it called to me, and it was like, and it's kind of how I feel. It's like I liked playing drums, and it was the only thing I kept on doing. It's the only thing I didn't screw up. So, but yeah, I mean, it's part of I think it's part of who we are, all the stuff that we do.
Oh, yeah.
It's a big part of our personalities, and I don't think we wouldn't be the same people,
True.
If we weren't us, we'd be somebody else.
That's
actually
somebody not worth knowing.
That's a good point. One of my friends who's a writer, I actually sent Mike this on Messenger, and I mentioned his show. One of my friends who's a writer is talking about saying something at the Hollywood Bowl and about growing up in the '60s with DJs and about how they became your friends and about how it's different now. And it's true. You don't really, except for indie radio, you don't really have that.
No, you don't have a connection. You've got a connection. Even like every morning, Scott Regan's on, and
right.
People have a connection with Scott, And this morning I was listening to Dave Kane on the way up, doing the Beatles show, and you've got a connection with Dave, although that goes back decades anyway, but still, that Beatles, and he said that's why he got back into radio, because people kept asking him, hey, I hope you're happy in your retirement, but, you're going to do that Beatles thing again? And so he's finally like, yeah, so I'm glad he did.
Here's an interesting thing I just saw on Google. Top 30 heroin songs.
Hey.
Let's dive into that for a minute.
The Velvet Underground's probably going to be number one.
What did you do? Mention being a drummer and it just popped out of your phone?
Drugs and rock music have a long history. Okay.
No! I don't believe that.
Drugs and not just rock music. It goes back.
We've collected the top 30 heroin songs below. From dealers to overdoses, euphoric highs to rock bottoms and everything in between. Hey, now there's a future.
This show is really taking.
Now we're going into.
Now he's doing this while we're trying to talk while he's doing this.
That's right, we're posing.
But the thing too, what I like about your show too is, I don't know where you dig some of this stuff out. Just when I think I know something, you find something else.
I got a lot of stuff in the basement. I'm trying to divest myself of some of it, but and then people are always sending me stuff, and it's fun, and that's why I would always hear songs and go, I want to do this. I want to bring the songs that would make me happy to other people,
right.
And thankfully people like it.
The other day, I was going through some of my discs, and I found when I was playing with Dan Frank.
Yeah.
And he kind of got me into all that garagey stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's
and it's a disc of the covers that we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
And Teenage something or other, and then, but I'm listening to all these songs, and I'm just like, man, these were good songs.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just an interesting style, and I really like it because it's lo-fi and all that.
It's
like
more heart and soul than it is chops.
Yeah.
Although you can have chops and you can still nail it,
yeah.
And Danny certainly does, But although the Projectiles were always fun. I was in a band with Danny for a while in the '90s. We had a good time, and he's been doing the True Believers thing kind of ever since.
I played with them a little bit. We got a show from Montage. The sound guy recorded it.
Yeah.
And I have the disc. Oh my God, it sounded really huge.
Yeah.
The guy got a great sound for a trio. But yeah, that was fun stuff.
Actually,
It's
one
like
thing
1, 2, 3, go.
I'm looking forward to is reading our friend Greg Prevost's book, because I have it sitting there because I have to read my library.
Yep.
And I want to see how many stories I can remember. But one of the things for me was his new album is from the Vaults. One of the big kicks for me, and they did a really fun show at the House of Guitars.
Yeah.
It was rocking.
That was great.
And for me, too, I had to admit, I'm at the point where, give me 45 minutes or even 20 minutes, I'll take. I don't want 3 hours.
Well, and it's funny because I got a request for them yesterday, the Chesterfield Kings back in the day. and I played Little White Lies, and just where the part where Greg goes, uh-oh, the CD player dies. So I jump in, I go, uh-oh, when I play the Kinks, but it was pretty funny.
Well, what
I
love about that CD is I was, like, engulfed in the liner notes.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, hearing this, I never was told the story about Gary, he mentions New Math. And
well, that's all in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's for me, it's an enjoyable read in a lot of ways. It's interesting, but I know a lot of the people in the book. It isn't often that you read an autobiography. Right. You're like, I know this guy, I know that girl, and then you really laugh because you know who these people are in these situations.
I'll never forget. I told Greg Townsend, I'm like, I just got the new book about Nick Lowe.
Oh, yeah?
I said, if you read it, he goes, gives me this funny look. No, I don't think I have yet. So
I don't think I want. I work with the guy.
I read through it. Who's in there? Greg Townsend. Because the whole thing about Love Straight Chicks, they interviewed him. So next time I saw Greg, I'm like,
yeah.
Really good book, too. But it goes, how did, like, Nick Lowe end up mixed up with these masked men?
Hey, they're all good, really good musicians. That's why. That's the whole deal. And I haven't seen them in years, but
the weird thing I always tease Greg about when he wasn't in them, they played here all the time. Then
he was here all the time. Yeah.
Many years ago, I did a couple gigs.
Remember the Christmas show at Dinosaur? I think with Kaiser George. There was one at Milestone.
Oh yeah, when he was
the Pupini sisters.
Well, I saw Kaiser George recorded at Dave Anderson's studio at Saxon. With the High Risers. Remember that CD?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I met him then, and they must have done a show, and I must have been there, but it was at, the Dinosaur?
It was one Christmas show. There was one with the Pupini sisters. There was at Milestones.
Oh, yeah.
There was one at the Dinosaur, too.
I saw them in Cleveland with the Pontani sisters.
Yeah,
that was
were you at the show at Marge's with Eddie Angel?
Yeah, I was there.
Because I was crammed in watching it on TV.
Yeah, but that was great, And then there was another time where Eddie played out on the deck. Greg Townsend was playing bass, and Jason Smay was playing drums at that point. And I remember Todd Bradley getting up and singing "It's Now or Never." Yeah. And actually, I got up to do a version of Surfing Bird. So that was great, looking at the lake. And
last time, years ago, that's when I saw Fertility Wright Brothers at Puncture. I still remember that. And I had the worst. It wasn't drinking. For whatever reason, I had like the worst headache.
Well, that was you had it before. I figured you'd have it afterward.
The Fertility Wright Brothers.
Oh yeah, that was that's
funny.
We were. It was a nutty time. That was the last gig, I think.
Yeah, that was like. Remember getting over there, and I forgot who opened, but I remember Cousin Al was there, and I remember like Mark was on singing.
Yeah.
And that was the last time I think I ever saw them.
Oh, that was it. Yeah, that was it.
But you want to really be brought down to talking about knowing people in biographies like Kim Gordon's. If you read the first page, it's like, I grew up in Rochester. It was grim. It was dark. I couldn't wait to get out.
Well, a lot of people like that.
Sammy Hagar said the same thing in his book where he didn't complain, but he said, I'm a California boy. When I got out of this job, we took turns. We drove 24 hours because I couldn't stand the cold here.
Whatever. It makes you stronger. It kills you a lot of times, too. But,
It does. But that's one thing I want to ask about, too. So when starting, and you said you had your glitch, it happens every now with the CDs.
Oh, yeah.
How was, tactically has it changed?
Well, we used to have vinyl. And there were no CDs, so we would play things off cassettes occasionally, which, was a little rough and tumble. But sometimes that was the only way you could get some of these songs, and there was a network where guys would trade cassettes of rare songs back and forth, so we used to play those.
I used to buy metal tapes all the time to get better fidelity.
Yeah, and then CD players came in, and then we had all three formats, and then cassette was out, then vinyl was out, now vinyl's back in. I mean, a lot of it's just digital, but I don't have the option as of yet to upload my tracks to the computer that runs through the station yet. So I burn everything to disk and hope for the best, because CD players, it's old technology. They're slow. Sometimes it might take them 20 seconds to queue up an old song. And my songs are only 2 minutes as it is. So, and if it doesn't queue up, then that's another 30 seconds, 40 seconds for me to stop it, get it out, put it back in. So I like to mix everything beforehand and play a set. So that's how it's changed. And I started doing that after the Big C, when I had to upload everything from home and put it together. And I just continued it, just do my breaks live. And then if somebody wants to hear an extra song that's probably going to not make it through the song, I'll play them like yesterday, or I've got some extra time.
I was actually just thinking some of those K-Tel records in the day.
I got
like,
a ton of those.
Like the rock, where they fade out the songs are like half cut and fade out.
Oh, yeah. My buddy had the Syndicate of Sound Little Girl back in the early 80s. I had forgotten about that song, and he had his parents' K-Tel album, and he started playing it. I go, I remember that song. That's great. But they cut out the drum bit in the middle just so they could... 25 great hits.
Right.
Only half of them, but,
Dad and us, K-Tel Rockstar, were like, I'm behind the car parts.
50% of 25 songs
but
for you.
You were talking about, like, releases. Now, one of the things I got was Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers at the Fillmore, and it's a really interesting album because you read the notes again, and what they did was they were getting stagnant. And Tom Petty, there's a quote from Tom Petty, and he goes, look, we're playing, like, arena shows. You pay a lot of money. You have to park. We have to play certain songs. You expect it.
Yeah.
Here, so they tried one gig at the Fillmore, and then they did 21 shows in 30 days, and they said, this is going to be coming like one of our practice sessions. It's a whole bunch of, like, covers, and it's like seeing a band having fun.
Yeah. That's the
I love live Tom Petty stuff. It's always good.
The only thing is, first live album, there's like between tracks, there's a silence. And I'm like, for live albums, are we live? Make it live. It's like, we goof up on this show all the time.
Well, yeah, you want that kind of interaction with the crowd like the Heartbreakers have on LAMF.
But the one thing, too, is like we talk about like rock and roll around here and like first generation music. But like I see some of these young kids, it's like I've told the story about when I almost got beaten up going to see Dick Dale at the House of Guitars because he took 2 hours and he started talking to me. And by the time he was done, he was inviting me over to his house, and I'm looking behind me going, we're going to get this guy in the parking lot. But I saw these kids coming, and they were high school kids, and they were dressed all up like, they were different, but they were digging this kind of music.
Oh, yeah. When he did his comeback, it really hit.
That guy's got the gift of gab, and he's late, and I almost got beaten up.
I did an interview with him at Red Creek, and, we did it downstairs. I guess there's a basement area. I'm talking to him, and you could hear the toilets flushing. I go, the sound of the surf, Dick.
I've heard the grease used to drip down the dressing room.
I missed that.
I never missed it, but I've heard stories. But what I'm getting at is like one of the bands around here that you have to dig. Everybody should go see. There's so many. We promote them here, but the Televisionaries.
Oh, they're the best.
And man. I can talk to Trevor for hours about.
Man, they have got it together, and they're doing that new. They've got that new EP out with this guy Les Green. Apparently, he did the music voice for Little Richard in that Elvis film that came out a couple of years ago. So he can belt it out, but they can hit it. They are a great band. They really are.
I told Trevor, the one time actually Austin was on the show, and I'm telling Austin, I had a horrible thing with your brother. I wished him happy birthday, and I'm thinking, I don't believe this. It's like, I've known Greg as long as you've been around.
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah, every now and again I'll get somebody saying, I've been listening to you since I was a little kid. And they're like 30, so it's like...
Thanks, I think.
No, it's good. Hey,
No, it's good. And, every year we look forward to Count Mike. We go count.
Oh, someone asked me if Count Mike was going to be on Sunday's or Saturday's show because of the novelty aspect of it. I said, no Count Mike. But there's enough stupidity in between, not the band, but music-wise.
That song is so catchy, though.
What's that?
Stupid like
Me?
That one, I can't stop.
Well, that's just it. If that was one song, either people love it or hate it. Because I've had people say, what are you doing? That's annoying. And other people, I love that. Play it again. So.
Now, I've been reading a book about Vampire, and I just love all the old horror.
Oh, you sent me that clip of him on the Red Skeleton show.
Yeah.
Did you see her waist? My goodness.
But what got me, you learn something sort of like us.
I watched the special on her.
But
She's interesting.
You learn something new every day because, I've always been into the old horror film hosts. I didn't realize, Dig Me Up Vampire, it was super popular. It only ran a season.
Yeah.
And they just had, basically she had something about syndication, but it only ran a season. And you think there's no footage almost. You can catch the footage of her coming out.
There's a little bit. There was something on YouTube I found, which they go over all the old horror hosts, and they do interview her, and it's pretty interesting.
No, but it's amazing, though, somebody could just have that kind of influence. And it was like...
Well, yeah.
Well, Elvira took her whole shtick from her.
Well, she took a little bit more than that.
But there's actually a fun book. I finally... This is, like, fun if you can find it. I think they have it at the library. It's called Rocket Red 7. It's by Mike Oliver, who did the Madman series. It's about an alien who escapes to Earth, and you see the history of rock and roll. He sort of invents it.
Oh, yeah.
But it's just... The way he does it, he really knows his thing. It goes to the dicks, but I hate to. I have to do it. You can pour the coffee on me.
Uh-oh.
Bills.
What?
The Buffalo Bills.
What about them?
What'd you think?
Well, they never recovered from the 13 seconds, first of all, and then, jeez, what else could go wrong? They ran out of gas.
This is sounds like too made up, but it really happened. So I'm walking. It's like a really windy day. It's like snowy. So these kids are playing football.
Yeah.
And I'm walking by. The quarterback overthrows the receiver who's wide open. And all of a sudden the mom comes up and goes, "Josh, it's time to go." And I'm like, "Oh no, this didn't happen. I'm not even posting this on Facebook." I heard his coffee's good, though.
Well, that's what they say. I don't have one of those coffee makers, so I don't...
Just take it, pour it in a cup. Or whatever.
Yeah, pour it in a cup.
There's a point about they could have won every game. Those games they lost during the... I mean, the Vikings game was... the Vikings didn't quit, but that was a fluke. I mean,
they always lose at least one game in some extremely bizarre
fashion. But that Bengals game was
the
only game they got
plowed. They were done. They were out of gas. They were done. But, if they get this cat from Arizona, that's...
but like the Vikings, I'm looking at them again going, I could... If I have a pact like with the devil to live till the Vikings win a Super Bowl, I'll be here.
I'm with you, pal. It's been a long time, and you're 0 for 4 like we are, so it's...
That's why I can make fun of the Bills, because I'll make fun of the Vikings.
Well, Rodgers is out of the division. We got him now, so...
Yeah. You guys, that's what I say. Is your window closing a little bit, though, like the Dolphins?
It could be. It doesn't last forever, but as long as you got Allen, I think you got a shot, And if they get Hopkins from Arizona and Diggs,
Well, I can't say anything bad about Diggs.
You
can't. But he's not Jefferson, obviously.
No,
but nobody's Jefferson. Well, but he's a great receiver.
He's tall like those guys in Cincinnati. All you got to do is throw it in the right place, and they'll go up and get it. And the Bills don't have a guy like that. And if they get Hopkins, then they do. But enough of sports talk here on the podcast.
Well, we don't know what we're talking about. Greg's like,
I have no clue. He's like I'm in the void on this one. I just listen.
All I know is they play Deep Purple songs during the commercial breaks at those games. So that's all.
All right, well, then I'm okay with it.
No, but then I remember when Allen came out, I remember certain sports writers said they want him to pick Rosen. They said the only quarterback not to pick is Allen. And I'm going,
yeah, you go, boys. He's the only one that really. Lamar obviously is doing well. Other than that. But that just goes to show you what they've got to create controversy to get clicks or to get views. No, they don't know what they're talking about.
Actually, a friend of mine, a musician, he made this comment about, he said, like on Facebook, he said, I'm just waiting. Everybody here has to tell me how much they hate Coldplay or U2. Yeah. It's like, why not, instead, I don't want to hear something negative from you. Tell me what you've done or tell me something positive. Because I think all clickbaits, that's why you try to be positive on this silly show. And we don't.
Well, and I do too. I'll rant and rave about something at home. That's about the only time
that's
I'll
what I will too. It's like,
but other than that, I won't. Because look, if you like something, you like something. That's
Except, no, you have to agree with me. You do not pick on Lawrence Welk.
I can't. I think it's really been an important development in our family's life. My brother-in-law watches it every Saturday, and my sister has to suffer through it. And for me, that is entertainment.
I found this clip of them playing some Easter song all dressed as Easter characters.
Well, that's what drives her nuts. She doesn't even the music doesn't bother her all that much. But for someone who listened to Genesis in UK, I'm sorry, Trey, you get what you deserve.
I love UK.
There you go. So Greg likes them.
But polka rules. But that was my dad's thing. He would be listening to your show. It would be that, Stooges, and Welk, and made his day every time.
Hey, come on. We go together like ham and eggs or something.
Stooges, I started watching that remake movie last night.
It's not bad.
It's good. I love it.
They
it's
do
pretty
a decent
funny.
job. Yeah.
But the thing is still, they'll always trick you to get to the end a little short. Besser.
Yeah. Well, those. I remember those.
You know what gets me, though? There's always somebody. There'll be somebody out there, and this is one of my things about taste. We all have our own taste. There's somebody out there who will swear they're the best Stooges episodes. There's, maybe one person, it's like...
Again, it's like, whatever. If you like, you like Curly, you like Shemp. How do you not like both of them? I mean, it's different. I mean, it's a whole lot of different, but it's great.
Oh, yeah, they're like, still, and I think they're the ones who last. Abbott and Costello, I go in and out of style. Yeah. But another movie I really like that I just watched recently, Night of the Creeps.
Oh, that's one of my favorites. I have the disc, and there's two different endings, and it ticks me off because I had it on videotape years ago from when it was on Channel 11 in New York, and it had the ending I like. And the other one is just like, what are you trying to do?
Isn't that the best, though, when we grew up? WWOR, WPIX. That's where I got all my Godzilla movies, all my...
Well, now, what is it? The broadcast one that shows Godzilla movies every week.
Yeah,
31.
But you don't know Night of the Creeps, Greg?
Oh, no. That's a great one.
It's like a homage to like 50 horror movies.
Oh, yeah, and the soundtrack's pretty good.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah,
I got a bad case of drooping microphone.
There are some classic moments in that where her boyfriend's a zombie and he's dead, and she's not really paying much. She can't tell the difference because the guy is such a stiff in real life. Then she's talking to him, and he's
We're getting technical support right
ladies and gentlemen, please hold still. We've got technical difficulties.
Come on, the last minute of the show, I got to be heard.
It just doesn't hold.
It doesn't.
It's a newer stand, man. Not good.
Yeah, but that's what I always go back to Return. I always go back to Return of the Living Dead because of Love Under Will. Do you ever get that though? Like when you're like in the theater, like wait a second.
No, that was on at Scorgies all the time when I go in there. They'd be showing the Dawn of the Dead and all that, and I'm like, I'm going upstairs till the band plays.
But that was like the difference now. Remember when shows didn't start till like 1? And now I'm like...
Yeah, I remember.
I was dragging.
Not coming on till 1.
Dragging last night, and it's like fairly early.
Like a Buffalo night, huh?
But there's actually a show at Buncey's next week with their own Heidi and Eddie Nebula.
Yeah.
6 o'clock.
Well, that's the way to do it. It's just like last week when I went to the Fox Sisters at the Bop Shop. They had the CD album release, and it was like 3 in the afternoon. Actually, 3:30. But, it was great. Because you're home, time for dinner, it's all good.
It was lousy, it wasn't worth going. No, the story. Well, the story about that one was where I was going to go. I did the show with the Baron, and I'm going to go.
The Baron.
And all of a sudden, I look at the clock, it's 3:30. I'm like, oops. I can get the album, though. So.
Well, they started at 3:30, because we got there at like 2:45, and there's nobody there. And I walk in, I go like, what's going on? And Jimmy goes, we're starting at 3:30. Well, okay.
I would have gotten there by like probably 10 to 4.
So I went and got some coffee and some, and just
go down to the bagel shop and everything.
Yeah, that was it.
Speaking of gigs, I got a gig with Brian Lindsay this Wednesday, the 29th of March, right?
And the Fox Sisters too.
At Iron Smoke. With the Forneri brothers.
Wednesday.
But do you go to any big shows anymore, or just you stick to low? Because that's what I don't do big shows.
No, I don't have any desire. I did it. I'm done.
I think that's the point. Some of my friends wanted me to go to a couple concerts. And I just said, look, I've done it. I've been there. I've done that. I don't need the aggravation. I'm just a local music person, and that's about it.
Well, I just bit the bullet and paid some money and just go see Cheap Trick at Del Lago.
Well, that's okay.
That'll be
fun. Those shows are... They're presented well. It's not like the old days where, remember, festival seating where we almost died at times. Thank God.
Oh, I got crushed so many times.
Yeah, I mean, finally it happened at that Who concert in Cincinnati. Right. But there were times where you'd just be there and they'd open the doors and you just went with the wave because you're wall-to-wall people and you just kind of moved with the crowd.
Oh, a big shout-out, too. Another anniversary besides yours, Danny and Abilene, 15 years.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes.
Oh, my famous story, the first time I was going there, I went the wrong way. By the time I got down by Court Street, I realized maybe it was the other way.
Yeah. You just gave me a great idea. Because at work, I won they did a silent auction for United Way, and I won this giant beer sign.
Yeah!
Light up beer sign. It's for,
Nosferatu
the
beer.
White, what the hell they call them? The white beers, the Belgian beers.
Yeah.
So, there's all these different logos from all the different companies. Duval and this and that. So anyway, maybe I'll give that to Danny for his 15 years. That'll be good.
He's done a great job.
He made it through freaking
I don't need it.
the rotten 2020 plus.
Yeah.
He's also has these festivals he did, like last year was really great to see Jeremiah Richards.
The Rockin' Rochester Weekender last year with Barron's Whitfield and, so many great bands.
Barron's, I think Tom Cohn said he broke his glasses one time he was rocking so hard.
Oh, those guys are just fantastic.
I call him the epitome. When they had the Bob Fest, the first one, he played, and I go, this just sums up our kind of music. This is just wild. Yeah. That guy, though, I get tired watching him.
Oh, yeah. He's our age. He's rocking it.
Yeah. But Barron's is just awesome, and but he's like one of those, he sums up, I think, what rock and roll is all about.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Any one of those records. They don't let up.
No.
Who's this? I'm not familiar.
You don't know Barron's Whitfield is?
Barron's Whitfield and the Savages. And,
no.
Yeah. They played one of the... Tom had him at one of the Whole Lotta Shakin anniversary things.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Oh, I remember that one in the atrium.
And the Monkey Hips. It wasn't the... it wasn't the Savages. It was the Monkey Hips or whatever. And I'm like, crap, not the Savages. What do we got? These guys were a good band. And Barron's delivers every time.
That was the atrium show, wasn't it? Bob Shop Atrium, I think.
It was in Village Gate.
Yeah, that was I used to come to the atrium show.
I'll have to listen to that. I'm always learning.
Oh, yeah.
You have to listen to Barron's. He's up one of my top.
Oh, yeah.
But the thing about Danny, too, is he's both local, he supports local, and he brings in these really cool acts.
And like they said in the article that Jeff Spivak wrote, he was a bartender at Scorgies, and he learned from Don.
Yeah.
He learned a lot of things from Don, and he observed, he saw the craziness that was Scorgies, and he really made it well. And he brings in these fantastic acts that there's a lot of Americana, and there's always been a room for Americana. There's a big demand for it, and it's been that way for a long time. Remember WMAX? Yeah. And then they tanked it, and now really what happened is WRUR kind of picked up that thing, but and in concert with Danny and some of the other clubs around here with this Americana, even what you're going to do Wednesday, that kind of sound is really big with Brian, what a great band that is. So, I mean, and Iron Smoke, Wednesday, 29th.
Yeah.
All right.
7 o'clock.
I will tell you, though, like Brunette's band, the last time I saw him, I'm going to put him on the top 5 for loudest.
Yeah,
I texted Eddie the next day, and I had earplugs, and I said, how are your ears?
Yeah.
Remember Immaculate Mary?
Oh yeah.
But great guy, great band, but I couldn't believe how...
I got a cassette of theirs. I got to listen to that sometime.
Yeah.
I think about all those old bands we grew up with like that, but he's still rocking out, and Iron Smoke, he does it. But Abilene to me, and I got to meet Lily Winwood because of him, yay.
Yeah, that's right.
And I banned from her dad's shows probably because of the Ghost Goes gear.
Well, that was my question. I thought you'd ask.
I love the best part was seeing her, though. She actually wrote it down to ask her dad.
Cool.
So we're probably on some list for bringing it up now.
She's probably like, oh, Lord.
And you gotta understand, like, she is, and I always plug Lily because she's like the coolest.
She's pretty cool, yeah.
She is such a nice person. But also, to me, like, Steve Winwood's like a rock god. Like, when he started, like, he was 15.
I was listening to him the other day. Yeah, one of the songs came on the radio, and he's like 16 or 17. Right. Give me some love. And I'm like, what? 16 or 17, whatever he was when he recorded that? It's nuts.
No, and that's what's the staying power, though. It's like the high rise or anything else. It's because the music's good. I think that's the whole...
Oh, yeah.
I don't ever listen to your show and go, why is he still playing this stuff?
Well, why not? People want to hear it. Sometimes, I can play the same stuff every week, different songs, and I'm like, no. And that's part of the challenge, too, because I want to do the same thing every week, but do it differently.
Right.
I think it's like...
That's the challenge.
It's like albums.
It could be easy. I could put it together in a half hour, but it's like, no, I want to challenge myself after 30
Don't ever do like Andy Kaufman, read The Great Gatsby for 3 hours.
Andy Kaufman, God rest his soul, he was a piece of work.
Yeah, I get him more now, though. Yeah. I didn't, like, when I first saw him, I didn't get him, but I get him more now.
Yeah, me too.
But I think it's like when we, like, for this show, we just try to have fun, chill a little, talk. People who like it, like it.
Let me know when that starts.
Yeah, we have our foil here and everything. But I think, you have your audience. You don't worry about,
right.
And I'm glad they're there. And people check in, and they get a kick out of it, and it's 2 hours of fun, or how long you listen. It's just, that's what it's meant to be. Let's hang out and have a good time for a couple hours.
I schedule my Saturdays around the walking schedule and everything else.
All right. Well, yeah, it's good music to walk.
I think it's great what you guys do, between you and Scott Regan. I think, you know, you help the local people out too, and that's like,
as best we can, yeah.
You know, and I think that's good. And then at least you can tell your friends, hey, we're going to be on this station, and then it just gives you a little bit more viability, I think.
Sure.
You know, it's like, oh, we're going to be on the radio. You know, that gives you a little bit more street cred or whatever.
It's amazing to me that people who play the kind of music that sort of fits the format, for lack of a better word, there's still people doing it.
Right.
Like televisionaries, they're young men, and they're still playing this great rock and roll.
Yep.
And there's from them all the way up, and every 10 years there's another young band that starts playing this stuff and is good. And I don't
think you're going to lose that.
Are they still around or are they gone?
I don't think so.
I just thought of them because I first saw the televisionaries. I saw them with the Sea Breezers.
Yeah, I got still have those tracks. So
there's another band that sort of fell by the wayside, and I don't think they were local. I only saw them once. Was the Mofos.
The Mofos were from Ithaca.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember when they played with Reverend Horton Heat, and I just never...
The Mofos, yeah, that's one. It's like, I don't know if I'm going to play this. Hey, those were the Mofos!
Yeah, sometimes you got to watch it.
Well, I played Kick Out the Jams. I played by the MC5. I played the single version. People are like, oh, I have the other version. Of course you do, but I can't play it.
A little different between podcasts and radio shows and everything. But but I think there's always something new, and then you're going to see some other young bands come along, and another like the Lipter Sisters, who we'll have on sometime when there's hits. It's like old-fashioned and new. Old meets new.
Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
Know, Fox Sisters. It never ends, but it's really cool. This has been sort of just typical carnival stream of consciousness.
Yeah, man. It's okay, though.
Stream of coffee consciousness.
Oh, I was out last night. I didn't have coffee last night.
I
got to say, though, Artisan Works, they have to have more shows. It's such a great event. It's so fun.
Never seen a show there.
Well,
that big room, that front room,
they haven't had one in 25 years.
Well, there you go.
You know, but this was really cool, and it's good to see Ben and Katie play. And Michaela's actually in town for it, and she's not in town. But she'll be back at the Lilac Fest. But now you have your show coming up. Now, is the novelty show this week or next week?
It's this coming Saturday, April 1st. Mm-hmm.
Have
you compiled the list?
I started working on it this morning. I was inspired. This isn't one where I've got to go, okay, think about, there's a pile of songs.
How many stupid songs are there?
There's a lot of stupid songs, but what stupid songs are going to work, you know?
Right.
And so we'll see if they do or they don't.
You got to throw some Ray Stevens in there.
Oh, yeah, Ray Stevens will be making an appearance.
I told Greg the one time, I told Townsend, I said the one time I'm going to do a parody band of the High Rises calling them the Low Expectations. Hey, Greg, you have something coming up.
I do.
You said
Wednesday night at Iron Smoke with Brian Lindsay.
Wednesday, Iron Smoke. It's happening with the Brian Lindsay Band, March 29.
And there'll be whiskey.
Number 9.
Whiskey snorting rock and roll.
Yeah.
Cool. But for the end, if you guys have anything to play, I actually have
don't.
Alyssa Rodriguez, who's been on here. I think this is the best for a loose talk about rock and roll, early rock, nickel harper music.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
But okay, anybody want to take a guess? The title of this song, I'm not doing the finished version. It's called Skull Crushing Weather. You know what that is? It's a real term. She just told me last night.
Well, I could venture a guess, but it's a family show, so I won't.
No, it's not dirty.
Okay.
Skull Crushing Weather.
Oh.
This is when you walk out in the snow. It's that heavy snow where you crunch through.
Oh.
So, see, we're educational.
Ladies and gentlemen.
So if something falls off the roof, it's going to crunch your skull.
But thanks for being on, man. It was fun as always.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah.
And
you didn't bring coffee for everyone.
No, just for me.
But I'm going to go get some.
Yeah, Greg's going to get some.
Cool, and over and out. See ya.
Show.